So I'm talking about before the overthrow.
When you think about technology, innovation, right? Like Native Hawaiians were like the best navigators in the entire world.
Works of Shakespeare were translated into Hawaiian, one of the most literate nations in the world. Once you know the truth, they slowly start coming out. A lot of it in the history books was glossed over. The overthrow of the Hawaiian kingdom.
1800s and the 1900s, and I would argue even today, especially today. Education was a colonial tool in Hawaii.
One of the ways of educating children was deprogramming themselves culturally as Hawaiians.
You know, with people's land being stripped away.
Families were broken up. People had to sign consent forms showing their loyalty to the government. You weren't allowed to speak Hawaiian in school.
Quote unquote modernize Hawaii.
From the stripping away of their culture and outlawing hula.
Things that were Namea Hawaii were looked down upon.
And having to do those things in secret. You know,
it's really taken its toll on the Hawaiian culture.
That trauma is then passed on.
What do they call that? Cultural genocide.
Now we have to fight that tooth and nail, and we can't wait any longer to fight that.
Now that we speak the truth, and now that we learn the truth, it's hard to deny the facts of where we live in Hawaii. We're finding out that there was a role of resistance to keep the culture alive.
In the 70s and the 2000s of cultural renaissance and political renaissance within the Hawaiian community that are powerful to behold.
Is we're trying to heal those kakios, those sores that were done so many years ago.
Like proud Kanaka. Okay, that's what we're saying, huh?
we have a collective mission, and that's to inspire students to embrace their learning and discover their passions. How do we ignite that fire? How do we bridge across the challenges that they themselves or their parents or their families might have faced in the school system? And how do we build that fire within them to discover what they might be good at, what they might love, and how they can contribute back to our community to make it a better place? That really is our collective mission.
The Innovation Academy, it was born out of frustration. Seeing these like bright, amazing children that were just bored. I was bored, they were bored. We were like, can we try something different?
Can we make the learning more about their culture, more about the place that they live, that their ancestors come from, more about the stories that they hear every day and see how there's high rigor in that, grow academically, spiritually, socially, and more connected to the community.
And I think that very first year we had a bunch of students that struggled within our system.
Kids always think that it's for like kids that have special needs, but it's not. It's for kids who need a different way of learning that's not just sitting in a classroom all day doing worksheets.
And the success of that year was like mind-blowing. We had no idea what we were tapping into. Like we just followed our na'au, our gut, that told us like these are the components that we need to have, and we just went for it. The sense of place component is the view in which we try to teach most of the things that we want the kids to engage with.
I am the Haku Kamalama, or custodian, the head custodian here. I encourage students to be proud of where they live.
Cultural environment and cultural learning techniques are an option for all children. Because we've seen many different colored children come to this land, many different races. They all say the same thing pretty much. They love it.
It's really fun actually because I get to get dirty a lot, and then I get to change in the bus. And it's really cool and funny because like all the girls are just screaming.
We were stomping the lo'i down and trying to get all the soil just like soft enough so that we can plant the kalo.
It's like the land is inviting. The classroom is a very closed situation. You have this open book right here, and for a lot of people, this is taps into us in a way that's, I don't think we can explain it, right?
And I think it's really impacted my learning, and it's made me better in school. And this is really my first year going on these kind of field trips that we are. We're at Uncle Marm's farm in Luluku.
We all have a connection to the dirt. We all have a connection to the vai, the water, but how do you put that in some kind of scientific statistic or a category? We don't have to. We just need to know that that is there.
It makes me feel really special because not really much classes to go here.
Ho'ala pu'ahu ula, their morning chant, talks about greeting the sun as it comes over the hill. When everything is in sync and it's a beautiful day, you know, sometimes I'm a little bit overwhelmed by the emotion, because it's beautiful. And like now that we have more kids participating, it's even more, you want to call, wonderful.
This Hawaii is a very special place, and I think it's important for us to teach our keiki the language in any way that we can. Every year, Mr. Minakami, he asks me if I can help him find an olelo no'eau to serve as a theme for our school, to kind of like inspire the teachers, motivate us for the year. Kupu no ke kupu kupu, mahope o kalauahi.
Ike Hawai'i and the Hawaiian language, so Hawaiian thought processes and Hawaiian language belongs here. And one of the things that we teach is that at one time it was removed from the public education space or education in general, and that was a severe blow to Hawaii in general. And so the fact that Olelo Hawai'i or Hawaiian language is foreign to most of us is like a travesty, really. So it needs to be planted back into that space. And it should be in every public school, because where else would Ike Hawaii and Ike Kupuna exist and Olelo Hawaii but Hawaii? They feel comfortable using it. And it's just, that's what we do here in Hawaii. And that is like transformational. We try to keep them all together, community all day, so that community and collaboration is just something that we do naturally because we're together.
We have more collaboration instead of independent work, so that's why we don't really have homework inside of our class, because it's stuff that we have to do with other people, and Kumubela can't just send the other people home with us.
There is a lot of student voice.
It's called the Poi Wall because it's, what is it the thing called? Potential opportunities for innovation. We wrote out down our ideas and we put it on that wall. I wanted to make, like, before we like brought like stuffed animals and fidgets and stuff to like help us keep us focused, I wanted to like make this little house for them because like they're just all over the place.
The family is not an afterthought, it is part of the planning process.
Because we want to see families caring for the land together. We want to see children learning to take care of their kuriana, which is their family and their environment that surrounds them, the things we love.
Right, where they come from is what we talk about first. And we find those strengths in their families, in themselves, and that the families were just in tears at the end of that first year, saying, my kid, I never saw my kid participate. I would never have imagined that they could stand up and make a presentation. But again, because they take ownership, because they have pride for this space, they understand this is where I come from, that they have, you know, that sense of empowerment, that they can do something about it.
The times that we're living in, with all that's happening, is it's a critical point right now. And it's time that we show how Hawaiian culture and values can be at the forefront of how to live on an island and how we can all get along.
Aloha is the solution. The role will look to Hawaii for those solutions. And I think that's what we're trying to cultivate here in our educational system. It's that power of aloha. Aloha is what grounds us, it what centers us, and it also is the thing that can heal us.